The Iran war continues and keeps a drag on the markets. It is very important for us to understand what is going to happen with Iran. And you know my stance on it. I made the prediction when it started right off the bat, and I'm sticking to my prediction. The big picture here is, number one, why do we even have to talk about this? I get a lot of people with Israel derangement syndrome. This is a very sad psychological condition that affects people on both sides, pro and anti-Israel, who have mental breakdowns when you mention Palestinians, Israelis, anything. They can't think straight. Here at Pioneer Lands, our job is to generate alpha and understand the world and separating judgment from analysis. Here, I'm not judging anything. I'm doing my analysis and I'm telling you that this war is unaffordable. That is what it is for the United States long term, and that the United States right now is at the peak of winning, which means the longer it goes on, the less the United States will be winning. I am very convinced, given the size of Iran, the sophistication of Iran, you cannot defeat that country. It's just not possible. The US has a very bad track record in defeating any country. Look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan, look at Vietnam. It never works. Because either you have a win and can do regime change and invade, it costs you trillions and then all goes down the drain, or you lose outright, like in Vietnam. Iran is a totally different animal than Iraq or Afghanistan, as everyone knows. It's much bigger, 90 million people. It's very sophisticated. It's not a Venezuelan crazy dictator regime. It's a deeply entrenched, deeply permeating culture. So you cannot easily defeat a country like that. The United States doesn't have the resources to do it, and it doesn't have the stamina to do it, and it doesn't even want to do it. That is my take on it. Of course, Iran is in an even worse position. They are getting hammered by the United States Air Force, and so that's the situation. Now, the last thing that happened today was, on Saturday, was that Iran actually said they are not going to attack the other Arab countries anymore. But they made it conditional. They basically bombed the American embassies and some raiders, THAAD missiles, very expensive stuff. They created billions of dollars in damage, by the way. They created 2 THAAD raiders that are extremely expensive. We're talking 1.6 billion per system, and the radar is the majority of it. These things, now destroyed or heavily damaged, lead to a situation where the United States and Israel cannot intercept early these missiles, because these were high altitude radars and interception tools stationed between Israel and Iran. So now Iran took them out. Iran took another super radar out for $1 billion. So these are major, major damages they're inflicting. And you can also tell you're not dealing with an underdeveloped country here. It's very targeted and very effective. Obviously, Israel and the United States are even more targeted and even more effective. So don't need to go into that. But Iran made a kind of a smart move to attack the Arab neighbors, to inflict a lot of damage, because they understand how they tick. The other Arab countries are very much into money, into tourism, and they really hurt right now. They need to sell their oil. They need to get their tourists. UAE, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai, but also Qatar and all these other countries, Saudi Arabia also getting damaged. So Iran showed they can create major damage. The Arab countries actually reacted the way I would expect it. It was a smart move. Obviously, they're a little mad. Against Iran now. But even more important, they're also putting pressure on the United States to say this cannot go on. This is devastating for our countries economically. It is also now, of course, leading to rising oil prices. And one key topic here is the Strait of Hormuz. If you don't know the map, I can show you the map, Strait of Hormuz, but you get it. Most of the world's oil that is getting exported goes through that strait, and Iran can absolutely block it, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. So you see it here. I make it easy for you guys to see this. Here is the Strait of Hormuz. You see Iran. Let me share this again. I'm not going to do too much geography with you guys, just making sure everyone gets it. Here's the Strait of Hormuz. Here's UAE, United Arab Emirates. Here's Dubai. Here is Abu Dhabi. Here's Ras Al Khaimah, the three big ones. Here's the Strait of Hormuz. Here's Qatar. There's Kuwait. Here's Iran. And they can close this. And all the oil exports that go to China, but also to the United States, to all kinds of places, need to pass through this thing. And you know what's happening to that Strait of Hormuz right now? It is totally dead. Because no one in their right mind is going to send ships through this. Outbound and inbound ships totally choked off since March 2nd. That is the greatest single choke point for the global economy. Chokes off China. It chokes off even the United States. With the gas price, it chokes off Europe. But it also chokes off, on the inbound side, the Gulf states. Because they have to import all the food. They have to import basically everything, and now they can't import it anymore. It's a complete disaster for Dubai, for Qatar, for Kuwait. So huge problems here. And Iran can just keep shutting it down. And what Iran actually does right now is very smart. Then I'll wrap it up and get to the markets and what does it all mean. But Iran is very smart. So I don't know too much about Iran, but seeing them in action now, these are smart people. I'm not saying the United States and Israel are not smart. Obviously, they're also smart. They're much smarter, probably. But Iran is not just some weird desert tribe, right? They are playing it very intelligently. They shot the missiles on Dubai, Qatar, and so on, knocked out extremely valuable US assets, billions of dollars destroyed, billions, just to make that clear, with major military consequences. The US has a much harder time now intercepting these missiles. And Israel, of course. Israel is the main target at Tel Aviv. So they know what they're doing. I would not underestimate them. 90 million people, also not a small country, significant resources. We don't know. The missile shooting has diminished a lot. Some people say because everything is destroyed. Other people say because it's tactics by Iran. We don't know what the truth is. Anyway, so this is the problem here. And the next problem, we already see the consequences. And now it goes to the United States. Why? The US cannot afford this whole exercise. This is the gas price in the United States. You see how this is going up like crazy since the war. We are now hitting $4 per gallon in average, which is massively higher, which is a problem. If you're a Tesla shareholder, you're happy. Everyone is going to buy EVs now, but that's a side effect. Of course, it hurts the US economy. It hurts the GOP in the midterms. If that continues, and the oil price keeps going up, it's a complete unsustainable disaster for the GOP, for JD Vance, for Marco Rubio. They will get destroyed. Like, look at the oil price. Just look at it and you see what I mean. The oil price is up like crazy. Just look at this. Do you see something here? Talking about crypto, talking about Ethereum or Bitcoin, you would be rich if you would have bought oil in January or even February, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. You would be extremely rich. Here is like 1 month oil price. We were at 62. We are now 50% up. And here's the problem. This oil price here that you're seeing assumes the war will be over next week. What does it mean? It means if the war is not over next week, this goes to 150. And if the war is still ongoing in 4 weeks, this goes to 200. And it's game over for the global economy. It's game over for the United States economy. It is also game over for the Chinese economy. It is also game over for the German economy. It is really bad. The only winner, by the way, if this is ongoing, is Russia. Russia is just going to sit there and laugh. That is also very tricky because Russia is playing both sides. They're in very close conversations with the White House. Everyone knows it. Trump wants to pull Russia on the American side. Russia plays China against the United States because Putin doesn't like China too much, but obviously doesn't also like the United States too much. Trump wants peace in Ukraine. Putin has it as a leverage point. Putin plays them all. And now Iran, of course, is beautiful because Putin helps Iran target American installations, and you can't blame Putin because America does it in Ukraine with the Russians. So I don't think Trump is even mad about that. But Putin is delivering information. Hegseth confirmed it indirectly. He's playing all sides. He's nice to the Americans while he's delivering information to the Iranians, which kills American soldiers. He also delivers information against Israel, probably. At the same time, if the war is ongoing, he benefits the most and he has nothing to really lose and only things to gain. But everyone else is losing, including China. What does it all mean? It's not just enormous pressure on Trump and the US administration to end this war. There is enormous pressure. You can believe that behind the scenes. We already see it with European leaders who are now taking things back. Like Merz was very supportive when he was in the White House last week. I mean, Merz is the worst, obviously. But Merz was very nice to Trump, said, oh, we are going to help. Germany is going to help. Now he's already taking things back because now it dawns on him that the German economy is getting destroyed here. And he says, oh, it needs to end. Enormous pressure on Trump internally. Vance, Rubio, who need to win in 2028 and who cannot win if this war escalates. The GOP will totally lose the midterms if this does not get de-escalated very soon. But on the other side, Iran is under enormous pressure too, not just because they're bombed by Israel and the United States, but also because of China. What do you think China is going to tell Iran right now? China is going to say, dudes, stop this war, open the Strait of Hormuz. I had a video on Tom Nash saying that Trump is doing all these things just to put pressure on China by taking off Venezuela and Iran off the map. I said Tom Nash is wrong, because if you run the numbers, that is minute for China. But you know what's not minute? The Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Arabia delivers more oil to China than Venezuela and Iran combined. And they can also not deliver oil to China. So this is all very tricky. It's not tricky. All sides have enormous pressure to stop this. And I'm pretty sure, of course, Iran plays tough right now, says we are not going to surrender, blah, blah, blah. Trump plays tough and says, I want total unconditional surrender, which of course is completely delusional. You cannot make Iran unconditionally surrender. This is way out of, no one takes this seriously. And they say it's out of the deal, blah, blah, blah. But Iran can also not keep this up, obviously. And now they're getting kicked in the butt by China behind the scenes. So unsustainable. Iran has to make, has to give in somehow. Trump has to somehow declare victory and stop this whole thing. Okay, what does it have to do with us? Let's get it back before we have the Israel derangement syndrome people here. Both sides, pro-Iranian, pro-whatever. Forget it. Don't get into it. Don't be little girls. I always tell you guys, stay rational. We need to make money here. Can't cry. So what does it all mean? Well, if we go to the stock market, if you look at Tesla, for example, and look at what the stock is doing. I told you guys, middle of December, Q1 is going to be tough. It was very tough. We lost 25% from the highs. But now the war is on top of it. Tesla is holding up very well, as do all the other stocks, because everyone discounts the war. Because the market isn't dumb, they have similar ideas as I do. This is just not a thing that can happen. This has to end. But we see this thing going sideways. We also see the NASDAQ, for example, flatlining for a very long time now. Look at 6 months. This thing is flat since September 19th. Here, September 22nd. We are now below that. For 6 months, we have been going sideways and nothing happens. If you totally zoom out, I always make this case and do very simple technical analysis. You see we are actually on a run. And normally that line should go up here. And this is the differential. Because fundamentally, the economy, AI boom, everything is going through the roof, profits are going through the roof. So that line should continue. And here's the fair market value, I would say, very simply put, of the market. So we have this differential here. We are a coiled spring. What is holding that spring back? Well, oil price, tail risk, the entire thing. What does it all mean? You can also see that other stocks, you know that I put my discretionary piece of the portfolio actually not in Tesla. Tesla is the majority, of course, of my portfolio, but I took on a major NVDA position that bit me a little bit in the butt on Friday, but I don't care too much. I have no concerns because of the blow up of OpenAI, Oracle in Texas, where they basically didn't do Stargate and then all the semiconductors crashed at 3 p.m. on Friday. I don't care too much about that. So I'm a little underwater here. But NVIDIA, of course, is the absolute mother of all coiled springs because these guys are going through the roof. They're in the middle of a forcing function. They should be at 200 minimum and they will go to 200 in absolutely no time. Once this war is over, like within a week, potentially. NVIDIA is one of my most favorite positions for March, TSLA for April and May. But it all now depends on this war coming to an end. Coming to an end. You also see the VIX, by the way. VIX is up nicely. See this? So VIX is up nicely at 29. If it goes to 40, we win. Maybe it doesn't go to 40. Let's see. That is probably the bottom. But we could even bottom out here. Now it's probably going to go over 30 before we bottom. But it's all a function of this war. And so if we want to generate alpha in this environment, we are clearly macro dominated right now. By the way, the next thing, maybe the biggest of all things right now, is crypto. Because crypto has been hammered. And crypto, in my opinion, is bottoming out. Crypto is bottoming out. Why does it say SAK? We want USD. Why is it bottoming out here? We are bottoming out at 60,000. That's what we hit here, beginning of February. I have multiple reasons. I'm not going into that in this video, but crypto is a very interesting thing that is also connected to MicroStrategy. If you guys are into MicroStrategy, all of these things are now set up for a perfect bull run. NVIDIA and Bitcoin are my number one, or let's say NVIDIA is my number one tactically. Bitcoin on a 3-month basis and Tesla on a 2-month basis. These are the biggest opportunities in my opinion. And then you have Robinhood, MicroStrategy, Coinbase directly connected to Bitcoin, of course. So that's a beautiful portfolio right there. But then you also have the other Mag 7s, Meta, and so on and so forth. Everyone is ready to rally like crazy. So what is the most important thing we can do to really generate alpha? We need to predict Iran. We need to predict when the taco happens. You know the saying, Trump always chickens out. Now, some Trump fans here getting also a mental meltdown. Again, don't be little girls. Don't cry. Taco is just a normal term. That means Trump is going to do big words and then just not do it. And I have very high conviction. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have extremely high conviction. This is another taco situation with Iran. And Iran will end. The pressure is too high on the United States and on Iran. From the entire world, from all the allies of the United States and all the allies of Iran, except Russia, to end this thing. It has to happen. When will it happen? Well, that is the million-dollar question that we have to time. But given the oil price explosion, given the Strait of Hormuz, and given that Trump is going to meet Xi Jinping, people forget about this, Xi and Trump meeting in April, this is a very big one. It needs to be all wrapped up by then. The first week of April, in 3 weeks. Well, listen, in 3 weeks, Trump is going to meet Xi. By the way, my suspicion is Venezuela and Iran have something to do with that. Trump wanted... Because no one cares about Iran, by the way. This is all like totally fake news, what we are being told. Completely fake news. Iran is extremely unimportant. They don't have nuclear weapons. This is all complete bullshit if you connect the dots. So what is actually important in the world? Not Venezuela and not Iran. China is important. China is the number one problem for the United States. And this meeting in April is probably the reason. This is probably the reason why Trump is doing this entire operation with Venezuela and Iran for some kind of leverage with Xi Jinping and showing him that he has all the aces up his sleeve. So that is my theory as a little side note. That is why I believe this whole thing wraps up in March. And given the pressure and also given the crazy tweets, let's wrap up with that. The crazy tweets of Trump here today are all indications that this is coming to an end. This is what Trump tweeted on Saturday. Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to its Middle East neighbors, which is of course total bullshit, and promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. This promise was only made because of the relentless US and Israeli attacks. So that sounds a little desperate on the Trump side. Iran has made a tactical move, attacked the neighbors, scared them. Now they put pressure on the United States. Now Iran turns around and says, oh, we are sorry, we are not going to do it unless you cooperate with the United States. Basically, Iran fired a warning shot and said, you guys have to stop supporting the United States. You cannot allow operations from UAE or Qatar, US bases, that attack Iran, or we will hit you again. You have to read between the lines. And these Arab states have no appetite for all that stuff. And now Trump is mad, and you can hear it here and says, oh, they're only saying it because we blah, blah. So this sounds a little bit like the end phase before we end the war. So I'm not totally sure if it happens next week, but I do think it will happen before April. And I know that every day that goes by is a very bad day for Trump and a very bad day for Rubio and Vance for the 2028 chances and a very bad day for potential further escalation. So I think the pressure is just on to end it. Now that's why we cannot be little crybabies and little girls here. It's about money. I need to be right about predicting when this exactly stops. I think it's going to stop very soon. I'm not totally sure that it happens next week, but I am sure that there's tremendous pressure, and you can tell when you see him, on Trump to figure out how to end this thing. So we have to look out for any kind of indication that Trump gets an off-ramp. Indications are crazy bombing rates, because it's like last ditch, like, oh, bomb them all. That's exactly what they're doing. And on the Iran side, any kind of wording that they're ready to negotiate. It's like, well, now we won or whatever. So we need to watch this very closely, because when this happens, we are going to set up for a major rally. And we need to be in front of this rally. Now, on the downside, of course, if something stupid happens, if they are actually unhinged, there is a tail risk that they lost their marbles. Let's not kid ourselves. There is always a tail risk that Trump and his team has lost their marbles and something weird is going on. And they're actually going to put boots on the ground and invade Iran. And then we are all completely screwed. Trump is totally screwed. Vance and Rubio will never get a political office anymore. The GOP will get destroyed, but we will lose a lot of money. So I don't think that's a very high risk, but we have to watch out. Who knows? So watch out for the crazies. Are they crazy? I don't think so. And on the other side, watch out for when do they actually pull the plug on this stupid operation. It's probably needed as negotiation leverage for China for beginning first week of April. I don't know exactly what Trump wants there, but maybe some kind of fake victory to go to Xi. Xi's definitely stressed right now. He says, like, what is he doing? He's destroying the entire world economy, including the United States and China. So stop it. It's not about Iran, by the way. It's about the Strait of Hormuz, Saudi Arabia, the whole thing. That is the situation. Let's watch out for it. It's a very important time right now if you want to make money, because if we call it right, we will be very rich. So I hope that was interesting. Let's stay on top of it. Between robotaxi launch and cybercap, Iran war ending, war spiraling completely out of control, and AI transforming the labor market. This is a very interesting time, and that's how you generate alpha. So see you very soon.